Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Blank Pages with our special guest, Victoria Gerkin. Welcome.
Welcome.
Yes.
Excited to have you on
We are
today.
so happy you're here.
I'm excited to see you and chat. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
So we know who you are, but for our audience, could you just give an introduction in case somebody hasn't met you yet?
Sure. So I am the publisher here at Podium Entertainment, and I've been in publishing a little over 2 decades, but only at Podium for the last 8 years, which actually also sounds like quite a long time. We are by birth an audiobook publisher, and that's probably how most people think about us. Certainly in the author community and potentially in the fan community as well. We've got 6,500 titles on the market by the end of including Ms. Brown's title, Savage Lands series, and lots of other things. Actually, no, I'll get into that in a minute. I was about to talk about Prince Harry, but I'll let you do that.
I mean, that sounds brilliant. I think we can talk about Prince Harry.
Okay, but we'll finish your introduction because my connection to Prince Harry goes deep, so we'll go there.
I don't remember a lot I talk to so many authors all the time, bringing them into the Podium family and talking to them about their books. And there's so much I don't remember, but like there are a few things I do remember, and that particular nugget is definitely on the list. Anyway, so we about 3 years ago we branched out into like full book publishing. So I won't say traditional because it's not really traditional what we do. But we realized that many of our authors that we were working with just wanted to spend time writing, and they'd been very successful indie authors out of the gate. They'd done a great job self-publishing their ebooks. We had partnered with them on audio, but they just wanted to write and not do the editing and the covers and all and the advertising, all the stuff goes into publishing. So we wanted to help them, and we also weren't that excited about them going to other publishers to satisfy those needs. Publishers who would then not license us audio, right? So we'd have authors leaving us, and we're like, this doesn't have to be the way. So we established a publishing team, and we have built that capability over the last 3 years into something that is really amazing. And we published 150 books in 2024. And we'll probably do slightly more next year, but we're sort of settling out around that number, including then their audiobooks. So it's been an amazing adventure at Podium to just start from, a team of 4 of us in 2016 to now we have 65 people on the team, headquarters in LA, and lots of authors in the family.
I have a million questions. Like, first of all, just the fact that you've been in the industry for 20 years, the fact that you've grown. I'm also around 8 years. My team has also grown. So hearing you grow to that capacity, I know that there are pressures and stressors, and you made it through, which is an amazing feat. And then from an author's perspective, hearing that you're publishing and you're doing all of the things, I have a million questions as well. I don't even know where to start. And Prince Harry is now lower on my list because
damn it.
So I think like the initial question on my mind when I think Podium, oftentimes I think Audible. And then my immediate question is exclusive. Like, is all of the publishing that you're doing, is this exclusive? What were the thoughts behind it? Give me, as if like all of the authors who are listening right now, like tell them all the things.
Yeah. So over the last 10 years, as we've been, 12 years, I guess, we've been growing, we have had an exclusive relationship with Audible. They are the biggest audiobook shop, certainly in the US. And so that's really where the market has been focused. And so we have focused our efforts on making our authors discoverable on the Audible platform, with a great reach into their marketing team. And, we have monthly meetings with them and telling them about like what's coming and what's hot. So we've had, this really great partnership, which continues. I'm not talking about it in the past tense. But I think as moving forward, there are other audiences out there who are in other places. So I don't see our, our exclusivity with Audible, I think, is sort of reaching, the end of its natural
Limit.
distance. Because I do think that there are a lot of people who are Spotify members. Like there's like 600 million of them or something. There's a lot. And a lot of those people are just being introduced to audiobooks as of the last year. And, just looking at the data from other publishers who have content on that platform, their published data, their sales are looking really good. And so the results seem to support that there is a new audience out there that we can be reaching
and tapping into. Yeah. My little entrepreneurial heart loves to hear that.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of more younger, like I've noticed like TikTok opening its shop has opened a gateway to kind of submerge Amazon a little, because I've noticed I've been buying more on there, and I feel like Spotify is kind of doing that with Audible. Like, they're opening avenues, which we should have in a healthy market, is have more options. But I do feel like that younger audience with Spotify and YouTube is opening a whole new world for the audio, and also, producing more books beyond audio too.
Well, I think then it also, length has been such an issue with the credit model that has dominated. It really has dominated the market. It's how, audiobooks.com is also a credit model. And so all the other platforms have sort of invented themselves to compete with Audible's structure. And that is, it is a model that rewards length over a shorter book, which in the romance world, not telling you guys anything you don't know, those books tend to be on the shorter side. And so getting somebody to try something new from a new author they've never experienced, like, are they going to then say, I'm going to spend my one credit I've hoarded it all month, and I'm going to buy this 6-hour audiobook, or I'm going to go for this 15-hour thing, or I'm not going to spend it at all because I'm going to wait till the next thing. So I just think that a platform like Spotify that is streaming, and where people are listening on an hour, it's on an hourly basis versus a unit, like you're buying an audiobook. It opens the door for things that are of a shorter length, and like really much shorter. I mean, I think we're publishing a book next week that's like 2 hours long.
Wow.
I just used credits on a 1 hour long book, another 1 hour long book, and then a 2 hour long book for my flight and then drive home, and the 2 hour I'm still, but I was thinking this is very short for my credit, because I have like a 17-hour. Yeah, that's on my TBR. But the 17-hour one is like The Body Keeps the Score, which is all about trauma. So I'm like, I'm okay with not putting my credit into that right now. I can wait.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's then it becomes like an economy in your mind, and you're having to spend brain power on that, where wouldn't it be great not to even have to think about that? And I think that provides a great opportunity. So anyway, so yes, very exciting times ahead. I think it's going to be, the more listeners we can get into listening to audiobooks, the better.
It's Willow, I know yours are on there, or you've had trouble with them.
Spotify.
What do you think about YouTube? Like the audiobooks
So
being put on?
when you mentioned Spotify and length, I was thinking, it's similar to YouTube, because I had my audiobooks on YouTube. I don't know if you know this. I had 100,000 follower account. I'd had it for 8 years. And I didn't realize that romance books with explicit content are in violation of terms of service, with an immediate and permanent ban and no avenue to discuss or talk to anybody. It's all robots. So I lost my account because I didn't even realize that I can't have my audiobooks on this platform. I thought it was such a win. I thought it was beautiful for YouTube, beautiful for the readers. And then I was getting paid per the little ads that they put in. Like, I would end up getting paid something. It wasn't everything, but I could offer my audiobooks for free while getting that from the platform. So I thought that was brilliant. So now I have a new YouTube account as of this month, I think.
Yeah.
I almost have a measly 1,000 followers in comparison to my 100,000. And I do not put my audiobooks there. They are on Spotify, and I do like Spotify and Findaway, but I left Audible years ago because of the Audible Escape program and just the financial means of being able to produce it and profit from it. So I have like a weird history with audiobooks. I
Yeah,
also,
about the
yeah.
YouTube. That's so crazy because there's so much content on that
Right,
platform.
on YouTube, that's very like, what? They allow
Exactly.
that, but not that?
They said
Okay,
any
yeah.
content for sexual gratification is a permanent ban. And I'm like, I have some news for you about food porn and my
Yeah.
habits on YouTube. Okay. Because I love
And then-
to see that steak run or the knife running across the steak. But yeah, it came out of nowhere and it was very devastating. I still have in the box, I haven't opened it, the YouTube plaque that I got. I'd literally just gotten it like the week before. So I know. Yeah, I know. It's I think asinine because it's literature and there are obviously books that have explicit content that are horrendous to have, including incest and rape. But they're listed on YouTube still with absolutely no issues. And I have pirated copies of my books on YouTube.
Yeah,
That I have to
Mhm.
literally file DCMAs for. But it's what it is. I'm going to go with the flow. I'm hoping for change though. I'm dramatically hoping for change. And I think change happens with actual physical change and money. And YouTube seeing Spotify should alert them. Right.
Yeah.
And the rise of
Okay.
romance, I would think, would alert them. But yeah, I loved, I know, right? A big wow. I think I am going to hang it up though. And I'm just going to put like RIP my porn YouTube or something like just a little
Yeah.
sign or in remembrance of when smut was on YouTube or something of that nature. I'm not sure. I do also have Margarita said she's going to email somebody, but I'm like, I'm hopeful, but at the same time, I don't know that I want to keep my hopes up for getting that account back. So
Right.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right?
If it's a wooden sign, could you like put it on a bonfire outside or something?
I think that I haven't opened it, but I'm pretty sure it's it's a metal plaque or something like that they give the creator. I'm not sure. I did think about throwing it in the trash. I mean, like if that's where my audiobooks go for you, then that's where you go for me. But
Which
yeah.
I just find so crazy because money, like they're going to find
Yeah,
out that
money.
that's a big market of money.
It
You can
was.
put on the bottom a notice like, hey, this has, but the whole, you can't say this, you can't say this. There is such a fine line. I've noticed I've been tagged with my fan arts of like, he'll show half of his butt, but somebody can
Mhm.
actually be stripping on TikTok or something like that. And that's
Yeah.
fine. But my
Yeah.
little fan art, nope, you've been banned for the day. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what? Like it's just like, but I would think like money wise, they'd learn their lesson of knowing where the market's at and being like, they can put a, notice
Well,
on there. Like
they're going to have to see somebody else making more money before
Yeah.
they realize that they're losing money. Right. And I was an advocate for authors putting their content onto YouTube also, which was like devastating to hear because I'm like, I hope I'm not going to hurt anybody else's. And I'm not the first one either. The creator of Ream, Amelia, she had her audiobooks on YouTube. And that's what inspired her when she lost her account was to create Ream. And she actually messaged me about that, which actually that might be lovely to have her come on too, potentially. I think she should.
Bring it
I
back.
know, right?
bring it back, bring it back.
All of my wheels are turning. But I have about another million questions. The first, if we can go back though, before I want to ask you about creating the publishing house and thoughts about that and the challenges and everything. But 20 years in this industry is a very long time. And we often talk about the changes between years or even months, or in the last, I've been around for about 8 years. What do you think? You seem optimistic about the future, which is a good sign.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm actually just back from Frankfurt Book Fair, which
Mm-hmm.
was last week, which is like the biggest trade fair for publishing. And I'm assuming you're utterly familiar with it, but I don't know, I think they estimated 38,000 people a day came in and swiped
Wow.
their badges just from the trade days. And then it's open over the weekend for a consumer fair. So they kind of turn it around and then consumers come in. So that just kind of coming out of that, I'm feeling really optimistic and energized by just the great books that are coming, the excitement about
energy.
books.
Are there
Yeah.
any secrets? Can you tell us any secrets?
Well, I mean, one of the amazing things, so last year, apparently they had a lot of the German publishers. So it's a very German consumer fair. Obviously, it's in Germany.
Yeah.
You're a German reader, you're going to the Frankfurt Book Fair if you're a fan. And so they have a lot of German authors and stuff like that, like they would potentially at, I don't know, the LA Book Festival or the Boston Book Festival or something local that becomes a fan event. Anyway, last year they had the publishers kind of close together in in the German like literary fiction hall, and the crowds of people coming in to see the fantasy romance stalls, so like Tracy Wolf and like all of the big fantasy romance, was so many people that it got dangerous. Like it got overcrowded. So this year they put all those new adult publishers into like a whole separate area, and it's an area that they never had like exhibitors in. Miles, like this whole place is 1,000 miles wide. My steps were fantastic.
I heard that. Need your tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, even after 3 days of walking in tennis shoes are not comfortable. So I went in to see it before I left on Friday, and it had like these stands that were quite far apart to allow for the crowds of people. And there was huge lines already, even on Friday, not even the biggest day. Like Penguin Random House had a big stand, and there's a newish German publisher called Vajona, I think, Vajona, that's started by an indie author in Germany, and they've acquired a bunch of rights. They have H.G. Carlton's series. They have I don't know, I can't name names, but anyway, big. And I was like, this is amazing. And they had so many books, and people were buying books, loads of sprayed edges, loads.
Yeah, that's a new hot thing right now. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Like as from Podium's perspective with physical editions, bookstores, special editions, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do it. I mean, it's like it's what the consumer wants in this market.
It is, but it's very hard for the indie author to keep up with these kind of things, because then the house will be like, ooh, we like that, and we'll start doing it. So then they up the score. And it's really, I've noticed, like, if you're not like, almost in these industries now, like it's really hard to stay, because I'm trying to constantly like, okay, I'll get sprayed edges, but it's hard to stay like, relative, like in the sense of money.
It's a little bit of an arms race, and spend a lot of money on production that you won't necessarily get back. So I definitely think you got to pick your battles and pick what you're going to invest in terms of doing something special like that. I'm not entirely sure what the incremental cost is, but there's printers in China
everywhere. Yes.
Everywhere doing it. So I the way I think about it is probably starting with like a standalone, or something that doesn't require 7 books in a series to then have to
I'm out.
So that's, I mean, I think it's a lot of fun. They look fantastic, and it just ups the design. And for a publisher like us, where we're working with independent authors a lot, and we're constantly, I mean, this is what's exciting. You're like constantly pushing the envelope for what is possible, and and you're very close to your fans, so that they want to shelve their books with the spines out, and you want to be on that shelf, and you want to then be on TikTok, and I mean, gotta be there.
Do you feel like the TikTok is kind of reinsurge the love of reading, the love of books. I think we are all out here, but I think in the weird, like that kind of Book Talk brought a lot of people together, that passion again. And I feel like the surge of wanting to read and get all these gorgeous actual physical books, because for so long it was just, I mean, a lot of people still read on the e-reader. It was ebook. I mean, nobody wanted anything else. And now I'm feeling this surge of like, I want the physical book. And it's just so, as like a reader myself, as an author, I love that passion again. I feel like that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, that has been I talk about things that change quickly. I mean, 3 years ago, was it really a thing? And now, like over the last 3 years, I'd say it's just, I mean, I will be devastated if TikTok is bad.
I think they're just going to have to force sale it. They did the same thing to Tinder the year prior to hitting the lawsuit with TikTok, and Tinder just sold the portion and got rid of it. And it was also a company overseas and everything. So I think they wanted to use that as a precedent in order to push TikTok, but TikTok is going to push back. That's going to be 4 or 5 years of a lawsuit. Then once that ends in whatever capacity, there's going to be money that exchanges. Like, it's just about, I think it's going to be fine. I think
by then we're on to some other app.
Yeah, probably
some other.
Yeah, because it's all going to be ads on TikTok in 4 or 5 years. So,
right?
But yeah. I personally love TikTok. I joined in 2020. When I was pregnant, and it was more like my kids and these fun trends because I was highly depressed because I'm an extrovert. So I have a personal love for TikTok, and I'm going to manifest that everything is going to be just fine. Or was it Tinder? It wasn't Tinder. It was the other dating app, the Grindr. It was Grindr. Yes. I don't ask me how I know that.
Well, what you do,
yeah.
So being at Germany, what trends besides like the sprayed edges and stuff like that, did you see any trends? It's still like romanticy, is it a lot,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of romanticy, and particularly in that new adult area where I went. Nothing else really stood out in terms of genre. But I would say, like, in terms of thinking about other things that have changed over the last 8 years since I've been at Podium. I mean, romance audio was the smallest part of what we did. When we sort of started up as a fantasy and sci-fi publisher primarily, and that's kind of what people still think we are. And then I'm like, by the way, over 50% of what we do is romance, so we need to pivot that assumption. So I call us now like a genre. We're a genre fiction publisher primarily. But yeah, I'd say the romance audio market has exploded in the last 4 to 5 years. And it from our standpoint, as we look at the data of sales, it performs in a very different way from other genres. Like other genres are sort of very quick out of the gate. They sell a lot, in the months around the release date, and then they kind of tail off, and then they don't really come back. Whereas romance books, we've observed that first year sales might not actually be as strong as a different genre, but then they pick up and they have longevity in a way that is very different from other genres.
Ironic is that
very
too,
interesting.
because years ago with physical sales in bookstores, one of the cons is that romance books, they'd eat it up and then they move on to the next one. So you couldn't get your book into bookstores because they said there's going to be something new next week. And now we're seeing, I think, with all of the heavy marketing, the social media, and this rise of romance, the longevity in it. And that is something that I've seen personally in all ways as well. My bestsellers remain my bestsellers, and I can produce book after book after book. As long as I focus on those bestsellers, my income is stable, beautiful, growing, and I can continue to write with freedom because I don't need to produce. I had a question, though, if it's okay, if we pivot just a little bit. What do you want to see the changes? Because I know we see a lot of changes happening, but if you could pick something that you want to see a year from now or 8 years from now, like somewhere that the industry is going to go, what do you think?
Well, it's actually your point about YouTube has
Yeah.
really planted in my
It's
brain.
it
I-
makes me angry because it's so
Look,
misogynistic because they have
mhm, right,
sexual
right.
content, but romance books they consider porn.
Yeah.
And that is where like I'm an advocate for sex positivity, and a part of that is acknowledging that sex is morally neutral and it's a positive thing. Also, all of my audiobooks were marked 18 plus. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not
Mm.
like there was a possibility of a minor seeing them. They were all for
Yeah.
adults.
And it does go back to my TikTok thing where I got banned, but they actually are having girls stripping. Like there's a whole
Mhm.
trend of girls stripping on this like music trend. I forgot what it's like, but and like so they can literally strip naked, these young girls, and they're young.
Mhm.
And but my, like something that women positive, it's like, romance, and nope, you get banned for the day. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's mad.
You know,
Yeah, so I would
yeah.
love to see, personally, YouTube get its act together and
Yes.
support creators who have channels that you've built and not do what they just did to you. I mean, that to me doesn't make any sense. They have your audiobooks on there are pirated, and they're just sitting there just fine.
Nice and pretty.
They're collecting ad revenue on those. And yet your legitimate channel where you are sending people.
Mm-hmm. I thought it would be such a good thing for YouTube. I thought romance authors
I
now
know,
have
right?
a new platform. Like I really thought it was wonderful.
So
It
maybe
depends.
some
Go ahead. Sorry.
or better management of
Mhm.
of that line of business would be on my vision board for them as become a better distributor.
And
It
it
also depends on who's in charge. Because I've heard Facebook,
correct.
somebody now is moved in charge that has a very certain way of thinking. And that, so I could see them going, anything that's outside of a Hallmarky feel to them is wrong, So it, well, depends
I-
on also who's
Yeah.
running it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that just on a whole, culturally, having more sex positivity and an acknowledgement that this isn't something to shame or guilt or hide, and more sex education and advocacy for romance books that have a lot of education and emotional growth as well as coping mechanisms in them. I think on a whole, as a culture and maybe worldwide even, we're moving in a more positive direction. So we might hit some stubbornness of old men along the way or perhaps their progeny, but I think we will conquer. I'm very optimistic about that, so
Yeah.
I'll join you in that fight. I'm
Yes.
a warrior of that. I think it's going to be wonderful when we get there.
Yeah, so I guess with that then an expansion of the awareness of audiobooks just in general. I mean, the market is not as big as it could be. I mean,
It's
always
growing. It's a little baby, but it's growing.
growing. But I think as audiobooks get onto other audio channels like Spotify, we mentioned YouTube, like places where people are going for their audio entertainment anyway, so we can hit them where they are. That to me suggests that audiobooks move beyond like the book, and they are just becoming like audio entertainment, and people don't think about them as books anymore. They think about them as just audio. And so you listen to podcasts or you listen to music, and then you listen to audio stories that actually were published as a book as well. So that's my hope, just the general expansion, and then like expansion in other languages. So making
I was
audio.
going to ask that. That was my question. Yes, because I'm translating so much. I'm using a platform called Tech Time to translate all of my books, and they had an audiobook option. And I thought, oh, I wonder how audiobooks are doing in some of these other, like Italy, all over the place, Germany. And will that translate to a positive revenue stream, or am I just going to be throwing money because the cost to produce can be very high? But with Tech Time, it's safer because I pay like what do they call it? You get like what's it called, Colleen?
It's a I can't remember
a
what it's
tenure,
called.
a tuition,
Something like that.
Something like that. Like you give them a small amount, and then
Yeah.
translator gets a higher percentage until they're paid, and then your percentage changes, and then you own the rights after 5 or 7 years or something like that.
Kind of like an advance on royalties.
Kind of like an advance. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. They just call it something else. But we do have the option for audiobooks, right, Colleen? Colleen
Yes.
does this for me. Yes. So I'm going by my feels and my memories, and today is Monday, and it is Monday. But I was thinking as we were chatting, I was like, I think maybe I should be, because they're probably even more more in their infancy in other countries.
It's a platform using human narration for
Yes.
foreign.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think quality wins always. So being wary, and if any of your listeners are listening and thinking about this, being careful about entering foreign markets where you cannot assess the quality of audiobook. You don't want to see it suddenly in the reviews and you do a Google Translate of
It's like,
and then it's awful. Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
and you're like, oh my God, what did I do? So getting a trusted partner in whatever market you're thinking of entering, I think is pretty key, where we don't speak the language. And I mean, in terms of sort of which markets and which books you should focus on, clearly your best-selling books.
Right. I do have a question that's popped up that's very relevant for the moment. Does Podium do like translation exclusive audios? Or is that something that could potentially be done?
So we have some foreign language titles that are published in territories. We ourselves have published in German, Italian, French, Spanish, and Polish.
Those are the 5 that I do.
Well, those are the biggies.
Yes.
So it's not a coincidence.
Yes.
And we did those in partnership with a European publisher called Saga. And so we were able to lean on them to make sure that we had like good quality translations and good quality productions. But in terms of kind of where our heads are right now, it is in sub-licensing partners with existing publishers in markets that, they know their market, they can do marketing, because that's the other thing, like, how are you going to market a German?
Right.
That's really that I said I've done lots and lots of conversations with authors to bring them on. The number one question all authors ask is, what are you going to do to market my audiobook? That is what they ask without fail every time. And so if you're going with a foreign publisher, you're going to say, hey, what are you going to do to market my book, right? And if it's you publishing directly through this company or whatever, you still got to think about that question. Like, how are you going to be positioned to not be lost in the market? And the good news is the markets are smaller and there's less content coming into them, but it is the flood is starting. So it's probably a bit like publishing in Kindle, back in 2014 or something like that, where you could like put a book up and it would just sell. And that is not the story anymore, certainly. So there's a period where putting a book into the market without a lot of support might work in foreign markets, but it'll get to a place probably pretty quickly where that won't work.
Well, exactly. And Podium has that support, and that seems something that you're really focused on as a company, of making sure that support is there.
Yeah, and we want the best result for our authors always. Like, that's our guiding principle. Like, what is going to best serve the author and the book. And in what we've started doing with our sub-licensing is finding the right partner in each territory for that particular author in the book. So we're not, this is not something that we can do for everybody, but we are where we think that we can get a market and we can get some deals for authors IP. We're doing that. And Stacey, I know you have your agent handling that sort of thing for you. So it's kind of, we're sort of in between, like an agent and a sub-licenser. I mean, we are publishers, like traditional publishers, sub-license all the time, and that's the service that we're providing.
Yeah, I love it. This is exciting. I did not know this when you got on the call. So I absolutely love this. This is exciting.
And I think back to your question about what markets,
Yeah.
Like really focusing on the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's so obvious.
Yes.
But anyway, so German, Polish is, I mean, surprisingly big, but probably because of potentially the lack of English speaking. So where you've got markets where people are digitally savvy and they're not particularly speaking or reading English, those are the markets to go for.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the French and Spanish, oddly, because you think Spain, like so many people speak Spanish, but the pickup of like digital books in those markets is not all that great. And when you're a digital first publisher like we are, and like most indies are, you kind of need to know that people are going to read an ebook.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Well, to wrap this up then, because I think our time's coming down, we got to get back on the Harry story. So,
Oh, yes. Yes.
She's been waiting for her moment.
Let's close this out with that.
I'm like,
Go ahead. Yes.
you know how I feel about Harry, so bring it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Stacey's what do we call them? A duet, a twofer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a royal series.
Royal Watch series was inspired by your background when you lived in London, and now you tell the rest of the story.
Oh wait, I thought the story was about you and Harry.
Oh no, it's about you.
Oh, well, okay, because I lived in London off and on, but I worked in a pub called Two So Bar. And
Two what bar? Two soaps?
So like too
Like too
sober,
sober?
but too so
Oh,
bar.
Two So. I thought you said soap, and I was like,
Credit.
okay. Now Two So Bar. Okay.
Marco was the one that owned it, which if you listen to his audiobook, which I love because it's his voice, we always like called him his godfather, but it really wasn't. It was actually like when they're in college, they're schooling, they have kind of a mentor, and he was actually William's mentor. But him and Harry really just clicked. They went to Africa, and Marco's bigger than life. So he owned all these bars. And so of course I was a manager at one of them. And then I didn't realize, like, I was just working there, and like one of the waitresses, a very small, very like, homey pub. And like she's like, Harry's in the back. And I'm like, fuck's Harry? Like, I'm like, okay, do my drinks. And then later, like, I forgot who came in that I was just like, they're like, no, like Prince Harry. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, so I totally was like, and then later we closed the door, locked it up, and he stayed with us. And he ended up getting behind the bar and mixing drinks. And everybody's just like, that was, stayed, that was there, was his friends. And
was he good,
like,
or were they awful?
They were kind of awful at first, and I was the only one that said, like, no, you need more triple sec than this, or you need, because and he's just like, and he pointed at me, he's like, you're gonna be my my taster the rest of the night. So we sat, I got absolutely hammered off of Harry's drinks.
This is an excellent story. I love this story.
And he was everything that when they're like, he's amazing, down to earth,
he is who you
kind.
think
he is. Like, he was like, even I think he was only like 17 or 18 at the time I met him.
I was going to say, that's illegal. You were serving underage, but we're talking about, we're
this is
overseas.
London.
London.
This is London. He was very much, and even if he wasn't, who gives a fuck? He's Prince Harry. And, and the doors were locked, we were all just, there was only 5 or 6 of us in. So I got to hang out with him for many hours, and he would come in, him and William would come in sometimes. I never actually met William. Twat. But Harry, on the other hand, would always be so kind to me. His friends would come in and we didn't have cell phones. So he'd come in and be like, use our phone and to call Buckingham Palace so he could get through the gates. And I'm just like, this is so weird.
But
cool. Yeah, it was so cool. So when I wrote that series, it was more seeing, because meeting Harry and them, I saw a lot of the opposite, like the press where they'd camp out and these guys couldn't do anything. So they would come and hide, because we protected them. Even the locals there were like, nobody could get in, if like press wise. Yeah. So I wrote, like, I wanted a realistic prince, like falling in love with a prince idea, because to me, like, he was dating Chelsea at the time, and she was just ripped apart constantly in the press, and it was just like, God, to be a woman. And that was when Diana was already gone, it was just like to be a woman in that world is horrible, like
What-
horrible. And so I
what
was like,
book
I
is
want
that
to write.
called?
It's called Royal Watch and Royal Command. So I wrote.
Yeah, you should definitely market the fuck. We're gonna take a little clip from right here, and we're gonna market the fuck out of that because that was amazing.
Yeah, so that was my Prince Harry and I Still the Day. Like I'll go down team Harry and Meghan all the way.
I
So,
love that we started
Yeah.
the podcast, like this episode on that, and we're like that is perfect completion. It was worth the wait, I hope.
It was a long walk, but we got there.
Exactly.
I kind of
exactly.
swerved and
Yeah.
you know.
If any listeners have any questions for Victoria, Podium, or apparently Stacy about Prince Harry, leave them below. Please like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Subscribe. And any last words, Victoria?
Oh my goodness. I just
Not to
wish-
put you right on the spot or anything.
They better be good.
No, I mean, like, keep up the good work. No, happy birthday. I can't wait to see what both of you bring to us next. And yeah, I love being part of this independent author community. I think, you guys are amazing. What you have built for yourselves is incredible. And whatever we can do to help along the way, we've enjoyed doing that too. So,
And we
I
enjoy
love it.
having people like you that are so passionate in this industry. It makes us very, like we love relationships like that. So thank you for all your hard work too.
Exactly. We need the people supporting us because we cannot do it all. That 100%.
there's a lot of hats to wear, and you've got them piled up, and we just hope you take one or two off every now and
Yes.
again.
You can have them all.
Yeah.
I don't like hats. I don't look good in hats.
All right, well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on.
All right.